Guys, I am really excited to talk about this new line that I used for the first time when I went out to Corpus. If you guys have been following the channel, you know that I took a recent trip out to Corpus Christi, Texas, and went redfish fishing. Now, it's October, and October 2017. This is new line for 2017. It wasn't super cold, okay? This is made for, I think, 60 to 80 degree weather. And it was pushing 85 some of the days, so it was a little warm, I would say, probably for this line. But I didn't really have many issues with this getting too limp. So that's the whole thing, is that, you know, it's the winter redfish, you know, regular redfish line. I used to fish a lot down there with this. In the winter, it would get almost too stiff because it does get warm. It does get cool. It's warm most of the time. This is my old stuff. Actually, I have on here. There's a weight forward 6, so a 6 weight. It's on my 5.6 reel that when I go fishing, and I actually did bring this as like a backup. But pretty much the entire time, I didn't even need to use that reel with this line. I just used my 8 weight. Now in the past, I've used the cheaper 8 weight stuff, just the I think Rio's like $40 line. And I didn't really, I actually like casting the 6 weight better because this is a better line. And, you know, it's tapered for redfish. And so is this. Now, I will say I like this better. This actually casts better. It's slicker. It goes through the guides better. This stuff is really nice. And I beat up this line. I didn't clean it every day, even though you should. I always say you should clean it, but, you know, we were getting back late and I would get tired and just didn't want to spend the time cleaning it. So I didn't clean it every day, and I would still be able to go out and fish with it and have a good time fishing and catch fish. I was able to still cast with it even when it was dirty, and it was very dirty water when I went down there. Very, very dirty. So it tends to last pretty well. It's quality line. It casts amazing, and it's got a really sharp taper to this. It's got I think a 53 feet running line. The handling section is 12 foot, and then the start of the taper, I think it's a 30, head length is 35 foot, so it starts at about 35 foot. But in reality, I mean, it was doing really well. That's the thing, is when you get a taper like that, sometimes you almost have to be out 35 feet to be able to get a good cast. No, I was able to cast real short. I mean, even if I saw something I wanted to cast to, unfortunately on my trip, I didn't see many redfish. They went deep. Conditions just weren't right for where I was going, but I did see some sea trout, and I was able to cast, you know, 20 feet to them, 15 feet, just fine with some heavier flies. This comes in a couple colors. I ended up getting the gray and orange, as you can see. So it's gray and orange running line, and it is absolutely the best redfish line I've ever used. Best line for the Gulf where I would fish that I've ever used. I was able to cast anything from small little tiny flies up to really big mullet flies like this just fine. Sometimes with the bigger ones I did have to do a harder double haul, but it did it just fine. In fact, I didn't really have to do much of a double haul most of the time, unless the wind was at my face and I had a really big wind catching type fly. I didn't really have to do much of a really heavy double haul. Just a light little kind of tug, you know, and it would go sailing. I was able to actually even roll cast some larger flies with this. It did just great. It did amazing. By the way, I'm holding what I had it loaded on was this new Pisces Fun plat reel. And it did great, by the way. I did a review of it. I'll put a link in the description section if you're interested in checking this out. Really good price. I think like 100 in the low hundreds range, 120 to 140 or so range, depending on the size. But I just did a review of that. Check that out. I'll put a link in the description section. But the line is absolutely amazing. I really didn't, in the early mornings it was chilly out, and this didn't harden up like some of the ones that are made for, really, really warm weather. This is like 80 degree plus basically. And this did not harden up in the cooler weather, and that's, it's winter redfish, so it's made for that. The water was in the 80 degree range, so it was right in that range of where this needs to be. And it did great for that. That's the thing, is you go out fishing, there's some big bull reds in the winter. It's about the right time, maybe even into November, a little bit in December. But it's too cold for a lot of the redfish lines, and you're trying to, fish with something that's not tapered for the flies you're using. But this held up great. Really, really, honestly, one of I think, my favorite lines so far for fishing redfish. I just wish... I think the regular redfish line, the new redfish line, might have close to the same taper. It's a little different. It is made for bigger flies, because really at this time you're fishing big, kind of finger mullet patterns versus small little shrimp that normally in the summertime. So this did cast everything really nice versus this taper. It just kind of, it was good. It was good. But this is also a 35-foot taper, but you can see it's got a thinner front end. So the shorter casts on this, you really kind of got to get down to here into the heavier taper part for it to really get out there real good. And this, I had some real good casts even in the 15-foot range, 15 or 20 foot, just fine. So this taper, really, really, I love it. So definitely check the winter redfish line out. I'll put a link in the description section down below. If you're going to go redfish fishing or sea trout fishing or anything down in the Gulf, really, I'm kind of sad to have to take it off and put something else on this for my freshwater fishing. I want to get down there and use this again. In fact, I might even try to use this a little bit we've got some pike that are running right now, so I might try to get out and hit some pike. Might be able to actually use this, and I think this will cast the pike flies great. The taper is just, it's a heavyweight forward, but honestly it does roll casting amazing. I don't know how. It really does. The way that this is set up, man, I can fling out a roll cast almost as far as my back cast. And I was literally casting, guys. As you know, you see my channel, I'm no expert in casting. I'm not the best caster in the world. But I was getting down almost to my backing. I mean, literally, I was stripping out to my backing, and I would have just a small bow barely touching the water by the time I was done my cast. I was getting out there really good. It was kind of some of the further casts I've ever made. And these were with larger size flies. I was using some smaller ones also. I tried a few shrimp patterns and whatnot. And those I could really sail out, but this did amazing. By the way, the rod I was using is this Lefty Cray Professional Series 2. Okay, and it was an 8-weight. It's an 8-weight line. This is not a power rod. This is not like a Sage method, which actually I was using with this. This is kind of, I wouldn't say a mushy rod, because really high quality for the price. Is good price rod, by the way. And I'll do a review at one point on this. Keep looking out for it. But this is a good rod, great rod. But this is not a power rod. This is not made for 100-foot casts. Yet with this, I was getting probably 80 foot. This was definitely, these were far casts I was making. Surprisingly, I was really, really surprised with this rod. Just because of the line. I think if I had something, with a little more stiff, a little more responsive and sensitive, I might have been able to get out a little further. Possibly 100-foot casts and get right into my backing. This is 100-foot line, and I was probably doing 80, 85, really, most of the day. So definitely, guys, check it out. Link is in the description section. I've got it linked, I think, to Amazon. So Amazon is nice because you can always return it, no questions asked. You're not dealing with the manufacturer. You're dealing directly with Amazon, so that's kind of nice. They automatically do a return. Make it really easy. So I'll try to link to Amazon. 2 thumbs up. Definitely purchase it. Definitely get it if you're going to go down in the Gulf and do any kind of fishing for sea trout or redfish, and some other species down there. Definitely a high quality high quality line. Definitely recommend it. Alrighty, well, I will see you guys on the next video. Now you go catch some fish.